I felt like I was qualified for that position. And I remember talking to my boss, and he basically told me that I was too young and I was a woman. And what would you do with the money anyway, even though we give you that position? So, guys, when I tell you that guys, welcome back to the Afro Boss Lady Show, where we talk about relationship, business, and anything that has to do with African culture. So today I really wanted to touch based on things that I've had to do in order to actually go up in my career, basically level up in my career. So number one, the first thing first, if you actually have a career in mind, is to really do not have a plan B. I've always heard the quote when people say, I never had a plan B. It was either I make it or I make it. So for my personal journey, for some of you who know me and many of you who don't know me, I was a child that was not considered smart. I was a child that had many passions. I wanted to be a singer, a dancer. I wanted to be a poet at some point. So anything that has to do with finances or accounting was really not in my purview when I was growing up. So basically what happened is that by the time I graduated from high school, I had to make a tough decision whether I was going to stay in Cameroon or I wanted to travel. My first language is French. So I always knew that I wanted to travel somewhere where people speak English. So the first thing that came up for me was to go to London, because I felt like it was closer. You know, Europe is closer to Cameroon. So the idea of me being in the US was not even, for me it was just a dream until a girlfriend of mine happened to be going to the US, and that's how I came about really filing my university application with her, and that's how I ended up being in the US. So coming in the US, I had to make a tough choice. I knew I didn't have the Beyonce voice. I knew I couldn't dance like Beyonce. I knew I wasn't a fashion designer because it was also something that I wanted to do. So what was left for me was to figure out what is it that I can acquire in terms of skills. So I decided that at some point, because I've always known that I was going to be a business owner, I've always known I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But when you in that age where you're still trying to figure out what you want to do, the easiest thing to do is to just linger around, trying to figure out what you want to do. For me, I knew I wanted to learn the skills of managing money. So I remember looking online and researching and talking to other people, and accounting was the field for me to know what does a balance sheet means, what does an income statement means, cash flow and asset expenses, all of this. Accounting was a natural path for me because the goal wasn't to be an accountant. The goal was to learn money, how to manage money, how to budget money. So that's when my career actually started shaping up, because I figured if I graduate with an accounting degree, I would have to look for a job within the field. My 4 years in university in the US to get a bachelor, I did 4 years, and then I realized that I did not want to be an accountant. Even though I did accounting, I knew I didn't want to be an accountant. So but the good thing in the US, and I'm not sure if it's the same thing in other European or African countries, but the good thing in the US is that when you do accounting, you actually learn about auditing. You learn about taxation. So you have many career options that you can choose from just having a degree, an accounting degree. So throughout my university years, I figured I was really comfortable with auditing. Anything that has to do with like forensic or internal audit, external audit, it was going to be that, because I like the idea of investigating. By second to third year in university, I determined exactly what I was going to go for. It was going to be an audit career. I want to say 90% of the jobs that I was applying for were actually audit related. So my first job after I graduated from university, I had a small jobs here and there as a tax preparer. I was doing taxation. I was filing individual tax return for people. Then by the time I was done with it, I landed my dream career, which was to work as an internal auditor. I actually enjoy my job as an internal auditor. I really had so much fun. I remember having a team of like only men, and only, I want to say like 90% white men, and then you have the 10% Hispanics, and then I was the only black person on the team, and I was the only black female. Actually, I was the only female at the time. Then later on, they hired other females. But for me, that was the entry to working in the audit field. I had a really good team. I had a really amazing boss. He loved me. My coworkers really loved me. We enjoyed, I mean, we used to have lunch hours, you know, like extended lunch hours, and it was so much fun. One thing that made me switch from working at that job, even though I loved my coworkers, I loved the company I was working for, but one thing that made me move was the fact that there was no opportunity for growth. So I knew that if I had stayed there, it was gonna take me a longer time to actually reach my goals. So even though my goal was not to remain an auditor, my goal was to actually be an entrepreneur. And I want to say that because it's something that I always felt like I'm going to own my own business one day. I'm going to invest in Africa. But in the beginning, before you even get there, you have to have some type of funding. And I wasn't going to go to the banks. I wasn't going to ask people. I was going to earn that money so that I can invest into my businesses. So I knew that with that first career, with that first job, my paycheck was really just allowing me to like pay my bills, eat, and that was it. I couldn't even save as much. So I had to quickly decide whether I was going to stay there or not. The first thing that I did before even making the decision of moving from that company to another was to talk to my boss. So what I did is that I had a meeting with him where I discussed opportunities for me to actually move to a higher position. There were some openings at the time, I remember. I was negotiating for that position that was just posted because I felt like I was qualified for that position. And I remember talking to my boss, and he basically told me that I was too young and I was a woman, and what would you do with the money anyway, even though we give you that position. And it was funny because they hired a woman. I remember for that position they had hired a woman, but that woman had 4 children. She had a husband, and he basically told me that she has children, you don't have children. She has responsibilities, you only have you. So it just, for him, it was just natural to give the job to the white lady because she had more responsibilities than I. So guys, when I tell you that I was so disappointed because not only did she get the position, a higher position than I, but I was in charge to train her. So she's getting more money, she's getting a, you know, like a higher position, but I have to train her so that she can come up to the level that I am, at least to that level. Which I was really hurt by that. That was the time where I made a decision that I don't think I can actually go in that company. As much as I love my coworkers, as much as I love my boss, as much as I love, you know, the environment, because the environment was really nice. All of that, just to let you know, that's how I made the decision to move from that company to actually look for other opportunities. Now, the trick is, because I knew I wanted to get a better salary, a better pay, I knew that in the future, I had given myself 5 years. From the time that I graduated, I had given myself 5 years. That in those 5 years, I would actually earn enough money to fund my first business. So my goal was to work, because you have earned a degree, you have to work, you have to save the money, and then with that money you can fund the business. Long story short, I made the decision I'm going to move. Not only move from that company to another, but actually move from that city to another city. At the time I was living in Austin, Texas, and I was deciding to actually move to Houston, Texas. Keep in mind that I had left Minnesota because I went to school in Minnesota. I made the decision that I'm going to change career, but I'm still going to remain in auditing, right? There are so many different types of auditing. I was doing internal audit in that company and I wanted to move to something else. So I started applying for jobs. So my lease at my apartment, my lease was ending. My apartment lease was actually ending end of June. And I remember, because you have to give a 60-day notice to your apartment complex, just to let them know I'm not going to renew my lease and I'm going to go to another apartment complex. I had already given the 60-day notice. As soon as I had that conversation with my boss, keep in mind, I was pissed. I was like, nope, this is not the company for me. I need to actually find a better, a better career. So I gave the 60-day notice to my landlord. And within that period of giving the 60-day notice, I had not gotten another job offer. I was just praying and hoping that, you know what, of course I'm going to get another job. Of course I'm going to get another job. So guys, I'm 2 weeks away from actually moving out from my apartment, and I still do not have a job. So the jobs that I was applying for were in Houston. Even though I was living in Austin, they were in Houston. So I'm 2 weeks out from actually leaving my apartment. And I remember my mom giving me a phone call like, okay, we need to talk. What's going on with you? What are you doing? Are you just going to be living in your car until you get that job in Houston? Like, what's the plan? And I kept on telling my mom, just trust me. Trust me. And guys, I had no clue how I was going to do it, but I was so confident that I was going to find another job. I can't even explain to you what had gone over me to the point where I felt like, of course, I was going to get another job. But my mom called me. She's trying to talk me out of this stupid decision, telling me how I don't have a plan B, and I'm leaving this apartment complex. They already leased my apartment, right? Because usually they lease their apartment without even the tenants coming in. I'm at the point where I'm still applying for jobs. The company that I landed the job in Houston, right? I had gone for the interview the first time. They did not hire me. This position that I was going for was to be working as a tax auditor, not an internal auditor, as a tax auditor. I had failed the first interview, I want to say early June. 2 weeks later, they post another opening because that company have offices, multiple offices in different cities and different states. So 2 weeks later, I see another similar posting, but that one was for a different office, for the same company that I have not, I failed the first interview. So anyway, I decide to apply again, right? I'm like, you know what? You never know. I'm going to apply again. So when I apply again, they actually call me. So I went to Houston for the interview, and then I came back to Austin. I'm 2 weeks out from leaving my apartment, and my mom is going crazy. She's going nuts. What are you doing? I mean, she's in Cameroon screaming at me. What are you doing? And I get a phone call 1 week before I'm supposed to actually move out from my apartment. I get the phone call, and the phone call says, we successfully processed your application, your interview went well, and we want to hire you. So that's how I landed my second job, basically my second job within my field of study. So I moved to Houston. When I started a career there, everything is going fine, but I still encounter the same issue. The difference though, and the good thing about that company, is that compared to the other company, I was earning, I want to say, let me think of the numbers. I was earning, I want to say, $18,000 more than my former job. So which was already upfront, it was already a good thing. Because the first career, I was like, nah, this income cannot really help. So I made the right choice. My mom was going nuts. My friends were like, what is wrong with you? Where are you going to live? You don't even have a job. And blah, blah, blah. I was just like, you guys are going to see, because I'm going to get my things together. And I made it happen. So guys, that's just to give you like a small, my journey, how I went from being a college student, landing my first career, my first job, the second one. I actually overall worked in 2 companies. The second company, I worked there longer. So I worked there and everything was good. But as usual, guys, when you work for a company where there's always politics, There are gonna be some people that will be promoted just because they look good, just because the boss like them, just because the supervisor is friends with them. And if you are that outsider, right, who is not really playing into the whole politics, then you're going to be left out. So you have to really know who you are, and you have to stay authentic. Because in my case, I wasn't going to, like go into the route of being politically correct. I wasn't going to suck up to other people just because I wanted a higher salary, or I wanted a better, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So I knew exactly that I wasn't going to compromise my work ethics. I wasn't going to compromise who I am in order to get on top, right? I was going to do my job. And if that job, my performance could not give me the promotion, then so be it. But the good thing is that after 1 year working there, 1.5 years, I want to say working there, I got promoted. And when I got promoted, my salary now was like, woof, it was. I mean, not that it was too much compared to people working maybe like in different companies. It's way more, maybe, I don't know. Within 1.5 years working in that company, my pay increase for my former job went up to like 25,000. So that's really something that you have to listen to yourself. You really have to listen to yourself, because when you're about to make certain decision and you may not see the light at the end of the tunnel, you don't really know what tomorrow is going to be like. So you just have to trust your gut that the decision that I'm making is the right decision. I'm not going to say every decision is going to pan out to be a good one, but at least you do your best and you trust your gut. That's what I did. I had no plan B. My plan A was, I'm going to move to Houston and I'm going to get a better job. How was I going to get the better job? I didn't know. I just kept on applying and applying. And like I told you guys, I was 2 weeks out with no job offer whatsoever. So I worked in that company and got promoted twice. And I was going to get promoted a third time. I think I got promoted twice. Yes, I got promoted twice. I was going to get promoted a third time. And that's when everything started going south. But keep in mind that I was already fine, because at this point, I knew that I was earning enough money. I was budgeting really, really good, because my personal life, I was really limiting the amount of time that I go out. I was barely going out, because when I started working for that company, I actually went back to school for my MBA. So while I was working my day job, in the evenings, I would go on campus to university to do my MBA. So that's how I was able to actually, those 2 years of me doing my MBA while I'm working that new job was really crazy, but I did it and I made it happen. But and I did the MBA not because of that job or not because of the next career. I did the MBA because I wanted to learn certain skills, certain hard skills that will enable me to actually launch a successful business. So the MBA really gave me that push and understanding on how to manage, how to market, and how to really know your products or services. So that was the reason why I did the MBA. And I also did the MBA because I knew that I wanted to go back to Africa and I wanted to impact the life of young girls and maybe young boys, right? I'm always passionate with girls. So I knew that my goal was to push them to do something extra, something that was outside the box. If you had told me when I graduated from college, first of all, when I graduated from high school, if you had told me that I was going to be in college and graduate from college, I was going to be like, nah, because I was one of those girls that I did not like school. I did not enjoy school. But once I graduated from high school, and then I came to the US, I didn't have any other choice. I didn't have any other talents. And when you don't have any other talents, at some point you have to make the tough decision. I don't like school, but guess what? It's something that you can learn. Those skills that you're learning at school, you can always apply them and earn money from them while you're thinking about your next move. So that's what I did basically. I worked, and then I get to the point where I was financially comfortable enough where I could actually even help my family. I could invest back home. I could fund my businesses, and that's how my journey went. So by the time I decided to quit my job, I was already an entrepreneur for a few years. By the time I decided I want to quit my job, and I did quit my job, and that is a different whole story that I will probably make one day. I will do that story one day, just to let you know how I quit my job. And I think it was really memorable. I think you guys really enjoyed that, because it was woo, 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 woo. But anyway, guys, I was really making this video to tell you how my professional career has been, the decisions that I had to make. There are so many things that happen in between, and if I have to sit there and let you know what exactly happened, it will take hours and hours. So it was just to give you an idea who I was and how I have evolved to becoming a full-time entrepreneur and owning multiple businesses. But I had a career just like everyone who goes to school, everyone who is trying to figure out what am I going to do. I had a career. And so one advice that I always give to like people who are studying out in college, in university, is to really don't be focused on what is it that I want to do for the next 20 years, for the next 50 years, because you don't know. When I started university, I had no clue. I remember my first year was basically, because I was in the US, I'm a French speaker, so I had to learn English. And during that time, I'm trying to figure out what is it that I want to do. So I always tell people, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Naturally, as you get more mature, you're gonna get to a space where you feel like this is where I want to take my life, this is where I think my career should be. I know people who have gone from being accountant to being lawyers, people who have gone from being lawyers to being doctors. So there's not like a specific formula. There's no age to determine what is it that you really want to do. There are some people who actually figure out what they want to do when they're 18, when they're 10 years old, and there's some other people that are 40. That's when they finally decided, I think this is what I want to do long term. So don't really put that much pressure on yourself. Pick something that you know you can be good at, something that you know is going to bring you a decent salary. Don't put yourself into a box. Don't put yourself in a position where at 18 or at 20 or at 30 you have to figure it out. You never figure it out. Like for me, I just play with life. I always tell people, like, I don't take life that seriously. I think life is supposed to be fun. So don't take life that seriously. If you get an opportunity, seize the opportunity, and then find ways to actually come up to the level of expertise that opportunity is requiring. So I hope this video gave you an insight on how I was able to move, how I was able to really decide why accounting, why MBA, why auditing, why entrepreneurship, basically. So if you guys have additional questions, let me know. I'll be glad to answer all your questions when it comes to education, business, personal life. Personal life, not so much. Don't push it. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you really like it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, still give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.